Hey guys, in this video we've got the Bezgar HM124, and this is a 12 scale four-wheel drive monster truck. Whoa, okay, so we don't generally do this, guys, but this is a full disclaimer here. Bezgar reached out to us and asked if we would do a review on some of their products. And we don't generally go for that here, but at the same time I sent a response. We discussed it, and I sent a response saying, if we do this, you will get a standard honest review. We won't be swayed. We'll tell the absolute truth, and parts must be available for these vehicles. It has to be hobby grade or we're not interested. They replied back, we wouldn't have it any other way. We stand by our products, and they sent us one. Now, they did not or will not get to see this video before it's posted because this is the honest truth as we see it. So that being said, we're not making anything on this. We're not getting any kickbacks, no bonuses, nothing like that. They sent us one to test, and we like testing stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and run it through the gauntlet. Here we go. In this video today, we're gonna get this out of the box. It's gonna get exactly the same routine as the rest of them. We'll get it out of the box. We'll see what comes in the kit, what it is, what you get for your money, and then we'll take it out and give it a test. And this will get a full test just like everything else. Then it'll come in, and this one will answer to our 4 questions. Is it fun? Is it durable? Is it worth the money? And where does it stack up in our collection? This one is in the small entry-level class, so we're really excited to get another one into that category. This should be a lot of fun. Check this out. Okay, instruction manual. Looks like we've got a light rack for the top, and it's pretty tightly boxed in there. Take a look at this. Okay, it looks like we've got some equipment inside this box here. It's pretty heavy, so there might actually be batteries in there. These are just wheel covers, so we'll get this out of the way. And I believe it's got kind of a neat trick. It came with both bodies. Get a load of this thing. All right, so before we dig into the car, let's see everything that came in the box. Okay, so let's start with the manual. And this manual is in many different languages, which is kind of nice in the fact that world around this will work. But it does cover some pretty good stuff in the English section here. And then if you skip to the back, it has the explode and the part numbers and how basically things go together. It's kind of a rudimentary manual when it comes to that, but at the same time, it does what it's supposed to. It does have all of the different part numbers and whatnot, which is a good thing, and these parts are available on their website, so that's cool. In this bag here, this was an interesting thing, and I discovered while moving it over here that this is a charging bag. So you put the batteries in there to charge them, and it's supposed to keep things fireproof and safe. Small batteries, small charging bag. Okay, this is, as expected, this is a light bar roof rack for the second body. So that's nice. That's pretty cool there, and they do have lights in them, which is pretty neat. The light kit is there. Now let's take a look at the big bag. This one was in the box next to the radio. And we'll see what's in here. Now we'll start off with the basic tool kit, and it does have a couple extra parts, an extra wheel nut, some new body clips, a few extra screws, a little tiny screwdriver. It's a Phillips head screwdriver, and a wheel wrench. That is a basic kit, but it does have some parts in there, which is kind of nice, especially for the price point that this one's at. It does come with 2 chargers, which is cool. So you've got there the same kind of charger. There's a set, so you can charge 2 batteries at once. This also comes with the kit. Very nice. Okay. It does have a wing mount that you can install on the back. So with this, you put the wing on it, it's going to look pretty cool. So there's the wing kit. Obviously, they left that out until it got shipped because it made it harder to get it in the box with that in there. It has AA batteries for the transmitter, so those will go for the transmitter. And look at this, guys. It comes with 3 lithium-ion batteries. 3. That's pretty cool, and that comes just in the basic kit. This one, this little card right here, this tells you what you need to do with the batteries to get them set up for the first time. So read this. This one here, a 365 or 1 year warranty card for this, so you can sign up and get your protection plan going. And that's pretty cool that they warranty that, but this is what I was really interested in looking at, because a lot of these lower end cars don't have very good radios, and we really won't know what this one's about until we get it out and try it. But I do like right away a couple of the things that it has here. So it has your steering trim here. Of course, that's a knob that you can rotate one way or the other to make your car travel true. But it has dual rates, and that means you can change how much the front wheels will steer. If it's a little squirrely and you're steering them but much, you can back this out some and make it a little easier to control. And then it's got this right here is a travel knob. So what that means is all the way to the right, according to what I read in the manual, all the way to the right, full power. All the way down, it drops it down to 40% power on the throttle. So that's what it says here under this speed knob. It'll be interesting to see if that's actually how that works. And it has a little warning on the sign here: do not move the trigger before binding is fulfilled. And I believe what that means is turn it on and let it sync to the car before you start playing with the trigger. That's all there is to that, I believe. Once we get it out in the field, we'll know a little better about that. Also, of course, we have the extra body. And, you know, it's a pretty plain body. It's black, or it's sort of a dark gray and white. But it's excellent to have a basher body and then one for the shelf, depending on which one you like better. And all of this comes in the rudimentary kit. Okay, all that behind us. Now it's time to see what the car's made of. And this is pretty cool. I mean, first off, we're going to have a look at this. It's not very big. Keep in mind, guys, this is 12 scale. But it's also entry level. It's not a high-end car, but at the same time, it does have some pretty cool components from what you can see on the outside as far as the chassis and the suspension goes. It all looks pretty good there. It does come with lights in the bumper, lights up on the body, which means there should be a lanyard in there. When we pull this top off, we'll find out. There is a spot back here to mount the wing. That should complete the look of this. And normally we really like enjoying, you know, taking off the plastic and stuff, but it looks to me like we got to pull the roof rack to do this one because the plastic for the body goes under the roof rack. So that's kind of a bummer. We'll have to take that all apart to get that done properly, and we'll do that off camera. So let's see what we get when we pull this thing open. So we'll get the body off. Oh, and as expected, there's the lanyard here for the lights. So we will have to unplug that. Come on now. Okay, so that was a little bit of a bear because it's such a small plug. That is a really tiny plug right there, and it takes a little finesse. You don't want to pull on the wires. You want to get a hold of this little white plastic bit and pull there, not on the wires, because you can pull the wires out of this and then it makes the lights non-functional. So when you do unplug that, be very careful with that. The body's actually pretty thick for 12 scale, so that's pretty cool in itself. Now let's have a look inside the car. And this is a pretty generic build as far as the layout of things goes. The motor is centralized instead of off to one side. I do like that. However, the batteries have a certain amount of weight to them and they sit on this side. And I get the feeling that this is going to weigh more than the speed control radio combo and the servo, but it shouldn't be that bad. And for this scale, I really don't think that's a big issue. Still, this does have a combo here, so that's the speed control and the radio all in one item. So if you do have to change this out, you'll either have to put a combo here or stack them. And that can be a little bit difficult to do, but if you're clever, you might be able to mount one of the items here. However, if this holds up, that shouldn't be necessary. This is a brushless system, so you can see the 3 leads going into the speed control here. The motor itself is pretty good sized for the scale, and of course, the sticker is going to tell you don't touch it, it gets hot. So there's that. As far as the rest goes, the drive line down the center, everything seems to be pretty tight in there. Everything seems to move good. I don't know if I trust that servo all that much. Usually these have plastic gears in them and stuff, and for the size and weight, it may not be a problem, but I would look for that to be one of the issues to start with. We'll see how that works out. At the same time, it does have aluminum shocks. It does have pretty substantial looking, well, these are CVs in here, so it actually has, the drive axles are pretty thick for the size of the car, so that's encouraging. Good drive axles. It looks like the arms have some pretty good beef along the side. Keep in mind, this doesn't weigh much, so the impact rating isn't going to be nearly as bad as it would be on, say, a 10th scale or an 8th scale, not to mention 5th scale. If you get into any of the bigger cars, you're going to have way more inertia piling into stuff, depending on the speed, how much this will take. Now, this is supposed to be pretty quick. We'll find out, but at the same time, I like the layout and size of the tires. They've got a good feel to them. The tread pattern is pretty cool. Everything weighs up nice and light, nothing too exorbitant there. Everything's looking good that way. The problem that we have, and it's not a big deal, it's just a tuning issue really, is that it does have pretty heavy springs on it all the way around, and it overdrives the oil that's in there. So when we opened them up, and we opened all of them, here's some images of what we were doing with them. So when we opened these up, we found they had pretty light fluid in them, but really strong springs, and it kind of bounces. And we put 70 weight in the back trying to even that out some, and we cannot get past the springs. For the weight and speed, perhaps that won't be an issue, but it is there. Okay, with all of that behind us, there it is, and the wing looks pretty good on it. It wasn't really hard to get the plastic off. There's 4 screws on the inside of the body. This lifted right off of there, and we were able to peel the plastic out from underneath it. Pretty simple overall. It shouldn't be necessary to redo the shock absorbers the way we did, but it was just a little too much bounce for my liking. Other than that, it's time to go ahead and get a battery charged and get it in it. You know what that means. There's one thing left to do. Let's take it out and test it. Check this out. All right, guys, so there you go. That's the running footage, and we've had this one for a couple of weeks now, and we've run it several times, and we pushed it pretty good for the scale of what it is. Now, this is entry level, and we ran it in appropriate areas. You know, you get one of these for your kid, you get one to goof around with. You're going to play with it in the driveway, you're going to run it through the grass, you're going to go down the street with it, you're going to get it in the gravel driveway out back, whatever. That's what we ran it in, and we ran it in some pretty harsh conditions. Some of that was really rough, and it handled it really well. Now, being that this is 12 scale, it's not going to handle the way your 10th scalers will. It's a lot lighter, and you know, the lighter cars have a tendency to jump over stuff. Now, we didn't clean this one yet. This is straight from our tests, but everything held up good. You know, there's only 4 screws to hold the wing mount on, but there's not enough inertia in the car under the conditions we ran it in, and we landed it on the tail a few times to rip that off. One thing I'm a little disappointed on in this is everything's done with Phillips head screws, and I really do kind of like the Torx bits and the Allen bits and that kind of stuff. So this has regular Phillips head screws in it, and that's reminiscent of the old days. That's not a big deal. Everything held up really nicely as far as that goes. There was no damage on the suspension front or back. The transmissions all held up good. They feel really nice still. All really good, except for one thing. The shocks are an issue, and that's one of the things that needs to be addressed. So the shock absorbers have some really good sized coil springs, and those are more like 10th scale coil springs. They're pretty dense, they're pretty hardcore, but the thing is, and I'll show you how this works, you can take the spring off and get the same action out of it, because the drive shafts, or the shafts on the shocks here, are really good size, and the plungers are pretty decent too. So when you compress these like this, it drives that shaft inside, and it also drives the plunger up, and that takes up more space in this small reservoir here. Now, these are pretty small shock absorbers as far as that goes, and there's a bladder at the top. When we filled these, we kept the same fluid in the front, we changed the back a little bit, it softened it some, but the thing is, when you compress it, even with the spring off, the bladder in there treats it like it's got a spring on it. Anyway, that and the spring causes the problem. So we're going to try swapping these out for some different shock absorbers and see if we can get this to have a plush feel to it. There's a reason you want it fairly soft, especially in rough situations. And what that is in our experience, you want your tires to drop down on the ground as quickly and easily as possible. You want them to absorb, okay? So when you hit a bump, you want it to go up and over, but get back down on the ground. And the reason for that is if you come over something, and let's do this again. If you go over something like this, and you come down askew, with really stiff suspension, it rides like a board, okay? So it doesn't allow this one to suck up and get this one on the ground. This one gains traction first, and then it throws the car at an angle because this has got more torque, more tension. So it puts a lot of pressure on that tire before the other one gets to the ground, and it makes it a bit squirrely. A lot of that has to do with the suspension. So if we can get that suspension softer, make it so this is a little more plush, so when you drop it, it doesn't bounce. Once the tires hit the ground, you got equal pull on both tires, and it keeps things controllable a lot better. That being said, the thickness of the body held up good. There's just minor scratches, nothing too major, and I was really shocked at how fast it is. This is a really quick car for 12 scale, and this isn't what I'm trying to get at here. Is it's 12 scale, but it's faster than the Vortex out of the box, and that's the Vortex Boost, not the 3S. This one here came with a brushless system in it, and that's impressive right out of the gate, considering this sells for $189.99 on the website. Now, we saw these available in many locations. You can get it from the website, and there will be a full page below up here of the website, and that's bezgar.com. But also, there's many other sites that carry these, and I believe Amazon also carries these. This thing is stupid fast. It is. The tires are a little bit on the heavy side, not heavyweight, but they're dense. So they handle asphalt really well. They get a lot of really serious traction, but they don't really absorb all that well in rough terrain. They get over it okay. But my recommendation on this is lighten up the shocks, make it so it absorbs better, and put a little softer tire on it, and this thing will be a beast. That being said, the body did a pretty good job of keeping things nice and clean. We did not get it in water, although they do say it's waterproof. We kept it out of the water. Now, this worked pretty good, and this, of course, is the combo here with the radio and the speed control, and it handled really well. Everything controlled good. I was really surprised at the action on the servo. It's a little smaller than standard. You'd probably have to find one that fit it if this went bad, but they do sell replacements on the website. Also, the battery here had a good long run time, and we ran all 3 batteries and they worked well. So everything's good. It did take a little longer to charge with the chargers that come with it. However, we threw one on the big charger and set it up for the right battery, and it charged really quickly. So if you do have a battery charger that's capable of doing lithium ion, I would recommend hitting it with that once in a while. That gets it done pretty fast, and you can charge all 3 of them pretty quickly. Still, if you don't have one, the ones that come in the box do work. All that being said, that leaves us with our 4 questions. And question number 1, is it fun? Well, yeah, this thing's actually surprising. You know, when you think entry level, you think kind of slow and you think training and all that stuff. Well, the cool thing is, with this one, you can turn the speed down right here and it does work. So you turn the speed down, it makes it nice and controllable. You can hand it to your 10-year-old and they can drive it without much issue, providing they have some good hand-eye coordination that's necessary. But as their level grows, you can crank this up some, and when you get it maxed out, this thing actually screams. And the radios, the latency between the car and the radio is virtually non-existent. It works really well, it's quick, it doesn't have any problems as far as that goes, and it was pretty comfortable in the hand, and you really don't pay attention to it being there. Well, if you get used to driving these things, when you're really in tune with your car, you hold the radio and you forget the radio's there, and the car does what you want it to. It's just a matter of reflex, and everyone can get there. And when you can forget this is in your hand, you've got a pretty decent radio. The settings on it were pretty easy to dial in, and the thing goes pretty good. So as far as fun goes, we didn't actually break anything, and it was surprisingly fast. Still, it's 12 scale, and you guys know we like the big stuff here. So as far as that goes, in our entry level, now we have 3 levels. We have the overall list, we have the mid-range list, and then we have the budget list, and then we have, I guess that'd be 4, then we have the entry level list. Now the thing about that is, as far as entry level goes, this is the only 12 scaler that's going to get into that one, and it's a lot of fun to play with. I still favor the bigger ones, but I'm going to give this one 8 out of 10 for fun, because actually this thing's surprising and it's a blast. So there you go, 8 out of 10 for fun. And question number 2, is this thing durable? Well, for what we've experienced, yeah, it's very durable. It holds up to whatever we've thrown at it so far. We hit the ramp, we hit some really rugged terrain with it. We didn't do any sudden stops. We did have our crashes coming off of stuff and some cartwheels and tumbles, but we didn't hit any standing objects, tires, phone poles, posts, fire hydrants. a curb. We didn't run into any of that stuff, so we can't really speak to how tough the front end is. If you get up the speed that this has, although it doesn't weigh much, if you get that much kinetic energy going and slam it into the curb at an angle. So what I mean by that is, if you get running, say, this direction and you come into a curb here, I don't care how tough you make this, it's gonna pay right here. So that particular part of it is a weakness of every car. Even the X-Max with all the upgrades, if you catch an angled stop like that, you're gonna have problems. Now, we didn't do any of that. We don't ever intentionally try to break these, but we run them as hard as they're capable of. And this one held up great. As far as durability goes, we had absolutely no failings within the car itself for its weight and its speed, which is amazing how fast it goes. Guys, this one gets 10 out of 10 for durability. We had no failures over 2 weeks of running. And question number 3, is this thing worth the money? Yes. It's worth the money. For what it is, 12 scale, cool, everything works. You get everything, and I mean literally everything you need to play with this comes in the box, and it comes under $200 for the entire setup. This thing's crazy fast. It's durable as far as our experience goes. It's durable, like I say, it's hit the ramps, it's gone high speed, it's hit rough terrain, it's hit piles that were frozen in place, and it still handled it just fine. We bumped it into big rocks and it took it like a champ. So as far as that goes, with all that's going on in the car, and this takes into account the fact that we probably should upgrade the shocks and change out the tires, this car is definitely worth the money. If you're getting into this, and keep in mind guys, this is for entry-level people here. If you're getting into the hobby and you want something to test, something to see if this is something you want to play with, you can wrench on this. It's hobby grade. They have a full website with all the parts available, and you can get all the different cars, and they are on a decent budget. Look, we're talking 12 scale monster truck for under $200. That's amazing in its own right. So is this thing worth the money? Guys, I really hate to go all the way to 10 because there's always something that can be better. So we're gonna give this one 9 out of 10 for value, because this thing really is everything they cracked it up to be. And question number 4, where does this stack up in our collection? Well, hey guys, this one being in the actual entry level or budget level RCs, this is gonna be pretty cool because, like I say, we don't have anything of this size. However, in the overall lists, let's start there. For the overall list, and I've got this written down so I get it right. Overall, for all the cars we have on the channel, this one comes in at place 37. And that's pretty good considering we have well over 50 cars here. So that's amazing in its own right. Still, in the entry-level class, this is going to take 2nd place right behind the Vortex Boost, which is a 10 scale truck, and it's really hard to compare them. But the Boost has the ability to upgrade, and that gave it the edge over this one. This one comes pretty much what you get is what you get. And I'm sure you can change out some components and make it more, but what it is right now is pretty off the chain, and it's already cool. The Boost is entry level, and so you get 2-wheel drive, you can convert it to 4-wheel drive, and then you can convert it to brushless, and that gives you a really screaming machine. And it does kind of do a little bit of everything. It's not stellar at any one thing, but it's a very good car, and it edged this one out by just a little. Now that one's at $199. This one, not needing batteries or anything, comes in at $189.99, so it's $10 cheaper. So there you go, in 2nd place, the HM124. So hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to bash that like button and help our content spread. You know, we love doing this kind of thing, and this is literally the first RC that we've had a manufacturer send to us. And the only way we'll do this is no strings attached. If a manufacturer says we have to do this or we have to do that, or we can't talk about this or we can't talk about that, we're out. If we're going to test something like this, it goes straight through the gauntlet like everything else, and you always can count on an honest review. Do we hit everything? No, we don't. Do we get everything right? We're just as human as the next people, but we do try to get things as accurate as possible. If you guys have anything you'd like to add about the Bezgar HM124, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studios saying, keep bashing guys.